Hi, it's the Reiki G, Courtney G. Smith here, and I am excited to be reviewing another book. Today, my book review is going to be on Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I always have to really think about how to pronounce his last name. This book, I went in not knowing what I was getting into. As you all know, I am a part of this amazing book club. And God, I can't believe it's been 2 years that I've been a part of it. And this book was selected for August and September. Normally we read one book a month, but this book it's pretty thick. It's 817 pages. So we read it over 2 months. It took me a little under 2 months to read it. And I have to admit, although this book has been coined the greatest novel ever written, I had never heard of it. And I know that sounds terrible. But what it ended up being for me was that it was really like ignorance is bliss, because talking to a friend of mine, we were talking about it, and he knew immediately about the book, but he was like, I never want to read it. He was like, someone could have a gun to my head and I would just be like, no, I'm not investing my time. Like, he was just like, it's a long book, and it's long. The font is pretty small. So for him, it's kind of intimidating, but for me, I had no idea what I was getting into. Like, I didn't know. So as a result, I went in like, oh, it's 817 pages, but it'll just get done. And what I loved about the book was how Tolstoy set it up. Like, if you've ever read Toni Morrison books, you pretty much know she's going to tell you on the first page what's going on. And in this novel, we knew, you read the first page and then okay, you have this man who is cheating on his wife, and cheating on his wife in the most horrific way. It's not like, he has someone far away from his home, or, someone that his wife doesn't know. He is having an affair with the woman who is in charge of taking care of his children. She's the governess. And it's just, you're just like, wow. So you immediately are just submerged into essentially their drama. And what I liked was that how it unraveled or unfolded with all of these different characters was that nothing was just black or white. There were a lot of gray areas. And when you looked at the main character, Anna, like, she was just vilified because she had an affair, on her husband. And not only did she have an affair, in her marriage, but then this affair produces a child. And what was so incredibly interesting was that although this book takes place in the 1800s, I believe it's 1874, in Russia, it speaks to how, years later, it's basically the same shit, different day. These characters, there was nothing different in the situations that they found themselves in, where people in 2022, it is the same thing. The only difference is that women have the power to, leave a marriage now if they aren't happy. But back then, I really felt like Anna was a prisoner. And it was so interesting because, they talked about how her husband was a lot older than her, and all this other stuff. And it's no different in 2022. You get you a sugar daddy. He may not be that attractive. And you're like, I'm going to make this work. And then you realize that so much of your happiness is sacrificed in, whatever you thought was going to work with your sugar daddy. And, some people leave. And, in 2022, you can get a divorce and it's not like you're deemed this evil, wicked woman. It's just like, oh, the marriage didn't work out. It just kind of is what it is. But back then, she didn't have that luxury. And as a result, I really thought that she was a prisoner in her life. And to me, that is just the most miserable feeling. And I won't give away too much of the book, but it definitely pans out where her, she succumbed to her misery. It was just really, I felt sorry for her because it was like she was stuck in her situation and couldn't get out. But before, I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but what I do want to say is that I understand how this book has been deemed the greatest novel ever. Tolstoy's attention to detail is honestly something I have never read in a novel ever. It's just so, oh my goodness. Like, there was a time where he is describing what this dog is thinking. And I kid you not, I read over that particular, or those sentences, at least like 3 or 4 times, because I was like, am I in the mind of a dog? Like, it was just incredible. So I could see how, initially it was only supposed to take him a certain amount of time to read the book, but I think there was like an additional 7 years attached to completing the novel. And I get it, because again, his attention to detail was phenomenal. And what I also loved was that he did a very good job showing the humanity of the characters, no matter how shitty they were perceived by other people in society. And what really is telling of him as a writer is that, okay, here I am. I'm a Black woman. I live on the south side of Chicago. And initially I'm thinking, am I really going to care about these Russians in the 1800s? I just kind of was like, whatever. Like, the book is part of the book club. I'm going to read it. I had all the time in the world because I was actually recovering from surgery. So I was like, okay, I'll have the time to read it. But what ended up happening is that these Russians and their drama, or should I say just their lives unfolding as life does, actually got me through what I was going through. I had surgery a few days after having surgery. My mom catches COVID, gives it to me. It was our first time ever dealing with COVID. She got it really bad. She had a really bad reaction to the Pfizer COVID pills. So she ended up in the ER twice, in the hospital once. She was hospitalized for 2 days. And honestly, this book is what had me hold on to my sanity. Like, I just was like, okay, I'm going in the backyard and I'm reading just to keep me whole and keep me sane, because there were some moments where it was like, whoa, this is getting a little out of control. It's a lot. So that speaks to Tolstoy as an author, his ability to, again, 2022, I'm a Black woman, south side of Chicago, but he was able to get me to empathize and have compassion and understanding for these characters in a way that I never thought was possible. Like, I saw the humanity in all of them. And then to see how Levin, this one character, to see him go from like, okay, with him, everything is black and white. And then by the end of the book, it's like, well, maybe there are gray areas. And maybe those gray areas should not only be explored, but be respected. So I would say I definitely recommend Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. And I would say go in with an open mind. Again, for me, it was the situation where ignorance was bliss because I had no idea what I was committing myself to. But it is so telling of Tolstoy as an author, again, how he is able to pull you in, and not only pull you in, keep you in. There were a few parts where it was so descriptive about what was going on. I was like, well, does it really need to be in here? But then it created a really nice balance because, again, you've got a lot of drama because these people, I mean, they're humans and they're just having human experiences. So the kind of parts of the book that seem to go a little bit slower, I think they were needed just to, again, add balance, because I think constant, just conflicts with the characters, whether it be internally or externally, just would have been probably emotionally a lot. And again, given where I was at, it was nice to have those slower moments in the book. So I would definitely recommend this book. Again, go in with no expectations whatsoever. Again, I didn't know that it was deemed the best novel ever. I mean, that's a huge, that is huge. I mean, that's a lot of responsibility comes behind that. So as a reader, you're just like, was this going to be just so consuming? But it definitely touched me in a way where I didn't think it was possible. And the fact that the characters are going through or went through what people are going through in 2020, it just speaks to, I mean, we're just human. At the end of the day, white, black, brown, whatever, we are humans. And I loved how Tolstoy was really able to allow the reader to see the humanity in the characters, even the ones, again, who were supposed to be the shittiest characters and just morally corrupt. You saw their humanity, and then you saw how other people saw their humanity, which was nice. I recommend Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I appreciate you for listening to my book review. Please drop a comment if you've read the book. I would definitely love to hear, what you thought, whether it be good or bad, because I don't know that, this book is for everyone. So I would love to hear from you. Again, drop that comment, and thanks for tuning in.